The stars looked peaceful from the observation deck of the Galactic Confederation headquarters. Commander John Miller stared out at the glittering lights, knowing that somewhere out there, another world was dying. "Commander, they've arrived." John turned to see his aide, a young Proximan with blue-tinted skin. He nodded and straightened his uniform. As the only human in the Confederation military command, he always felt a need to present himself perfectly. "Thank you, Ilara. Tell them I'll be right there." The council chamber was large and circular, with seats for representatives from all 17 member species of the Galactic Confederation. Today, most of those seats were filled. Fear had a way of ensuring attendance. John took his place at the military advisor's podium as Council President Nomak called the emergency session to order. "Esteemed representatives," Nomak began, his tall, thin frame seeming to bend under invisible weight. "I regret to inform you that we have lost contact with New Harmony." A murmur ran through the chamber. New Harmony was the cultural center of the Proxima system, home to museums, universities, and over 12 million people. "Our worst fears have been confirmed," Nomak continued. "Long-range scans show the same pattern of destruction we have witnessed on 7 other worlds in the past year. The Mornaxians have struck again." The room fell silent. The holographic display in the center of the chamber activated, showing a beautiful blue-green planet. Then the image changed. Cities reduced to rubble. Vast craters where population centers had been. Oceans boiling from the heat of orbital bombardment. "This attack was different," John said, stepping forward. "They're getting more efficient. Total planetary devastation took only 6 hours, compared to 11 hours on Deimos III last month." Ambassador Ziri of the Tellurian delegation stood up. Her crystalline body caught the light as she moved. "We have doubled our defense fleet as recommended committed resources we can barely spare, and still we are no closer to stopping these monsters. What is your recommendation now, Commander Miller?" John touched a control on his podium, and the display changed to show a map of known Mornaxian attacks. "The pattern is expanding," he said. "At first, they targeted only outer colonies, but they're moving inward, toward the core systems. Our analysts project they will reach Telluria within 3 months, and Earth Sector within 6. "Earth Sector?" Ambassador Krell of the Mandidean cluster clicked his mandibles in what passed for laughter. "Among his kind. The humans have isolated themselves for centuries. Do these Mornaxians not know they should respect your privacy?" There were a few nervous laughs. Human isolation was sometimes a subject of mockery in the Confederation. Most species believed that humans had withdrawn from galactic affairs out of fear or arrogance. John did not react to the taunt. "The Mornaxians do not respect anything. They destroy without purpose that we can discern. They take no resources, claim no territory. They simply destroy and move on. Maybe they feed on fear," said Ambassador Vox of the Saurians, their scaled, skin-shifting colors with their emotions, currently a deep purple of distress. "Maybe they enjoy our suffering." "Whatever their motives," Nomak cut in, "we must find a way to stop them. Our combined fleets have engaged them 3 times, and each time we have been devastated. Their technology appears centuries beyond ours." "Not beyond all of ours," Ambassador Ziri said softly. The chamber fell silent again. "You speak of the humans," Nomak said, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of deep thought among his species. "They have made it clear they want no part in Confederation matters." John felt all eyes turn to him. As the only human in the room, as the only human most of them had ever met, he suddenly felt the weight of his species' isolation. "The humans have remained within their sector by choice," he said carefully. "I left Earth 30 years ago, before the isolation protocols were fully implemented. I have had no contact with Earth government since." "But you must know something," pressed Ambassador Ziri. "Why did your people cut themselves off? What are they hiding?" John hesitated. The truth was he did know something, but he had sworn an oath before leaving Earth, an oath he had kept for 3 decades. Before he could decide how to answer, alarms blared throughout the chamber. The holographic display shifted to show a fleet of ships entering the system, ships with the distinctive curved hulls and blood-red markings of the Mornaxian forces. "They're here," gasped Nomak. "But how? Our early warning systems should have detected them hours ago." "They've improved their cloaking technology," John said, studying the tactical display with growing horror. "There are at least 30 ships, including 3 dreadnoughts. The station's defenses cannot withstand such a force," said the military representative from Arcturus, already moving toward the exit. "We must evacuate immediately." Chaos erupted in the chamber as representatives rushed toward the emergency shuttles. John remained at his station, sending a priority alert to the Confederation Defense Fleet, but he knew they would arrive too late. President Nomak appeared at his side. "Commander Miller, we must go." "One moment, sir." John's fingers flew across his console. He entered a series of commands, then a long string of characters he had memorized decades ago but never used. Until now. "What are you doing?" Nomak asked. "Sending a message," John replied, pressing the final key. "To Earth." Nomak's 4 eyes widened. "Will they respond? After all this time?" John looked at the tactical display where the Mornaxian ships were moving into attack formation. "They'll respond. They've been waiting for this day." "What do you mean?" Nomak asked as they hurried toward the evacuation area. John didn't answer immediately. They reached the last shuttle just as the first impacts shook the station. As the doors closed and the shuttle launched, John looked at the Confederation headquarters through the viewport. Energy beams from the Mornaxian ships were already cutting through its outer sections. The humans didn't isolate themselves because they were afraid of the galaxy, John finally said. They isolated themselves because they were afraid of what they might do to the galaxy. "I don't understand," said Nomak. "The Mornaxians have been around longer than you know," John explained. "Humanity encountered them 2 centuries ago during our first expansion. They destroyed 3 colonies before we understood what we were facing." "And you defeated them?" Nomak asked in disbelief. "Not exactly," John said, his voice grim. "We contained them, pushed them back into a region of space we could monitor. We made a decision then. Humanity would stand guard so the rest of the galaxy could live in peace." The shuttle shuddered as a nearby explosion buffeted it. Through the viewport they watched as the Confederation headquarters began to break apart under the Mornaxian assault. "But now they've broken containment," Nomak realized. John nodded. "And humanity will answer. God help us all." As if in response to his words, the shuttle's communication system chimed. A message, on a frequency that hadn't been used in centuries. John activated it, and a woman's voice, calm and authoritative, filled the cabin. "This is Admiral Olivia Carter of Earth Fleet Command. We have received your emergency signal, Commander Miller. Hold position. Help is coming." John closed his eyes. Briefly. He had done his duty. He had kept his oath. And now, after centuries of peace, the galaxy would learn why humans had chosen isolation. The real war was about to begin. The evacuation shuttle carrying John Miller and President Nomak drifted through space, its engines running on minimal power to avoid detection. Through the viewport, they watched as the Confederation headquarters broke apart, sections of the once proud station spinning away into the darkness. 12,000 people, Nomak said softly. "How many do you think escaped?" "Not enough," John replied. The shuttle's communication system beeped again. "Commander Miller, this is Admiral Carter. We have your position. Stay on your current course. We'll rendezvous in 13 minutes. John acknowledged the message and turned to face the 20 or so representatives and staff who had made it onto the shuttle. Their faces showed various stages of shock and fear. "Help is coming," he told them. "But I need to prepare you for what you're about to see." Ambassador Ziri moved closer. "What do you mean, Commander?" "Humanity has been preparing for this moment for 2 centuries, John explained. "You're about to meet the real Earth fleet." Before he could say more, the shuttle's pilot called out, "Something's coming, multiple vessels dropping out of—" "I don't know what that is. It's not normal space." John moved to the viewport and felt a surge of pride. Emerging from what appeared to be tears in the fabric of space itself came 5 ships. They were unlike anything the Confederation had ever built, sleek and dark, with no visible propulsion systems or weapon ports, yet radiating a sense of barely contained power. The lead vessel dwarfed their shuttle, stretching nearly a kilometer, from bow to stern. Its hull bore the simple marking, USS Defender. That's impossible, whispered the Arcturan military representative. Our sensors would have detected ships that size in this sector. Not these ships, John said. Not if they didn't want to be found. The shuttle's communication system activated again, this time projecting a hologram. A woman appeared, tall with short gray hair and the bearing of someone used to command. She wore a simple black uniform with silver rank insignia on the collar. Commander Miller, it's been a long time, John saluted. Admiral Carter, I wish the circumstances were better. As do I. The Admiral's gaze moved over the other passengers. President Nomak, representatives of the Confederation. I am Admiral Olivia Carter, of the Earth Defense Force. We're here to evacuate you to safety. Admiral, Nomak stepped forward. The Mornaxians have destroyed our headquarters and are attacking throughout Confederation space. We need more than evacuation. We need help. That's why we're here, Mr. President. Olivia's expression was grim. The Mornaxians have broken containment. The Earth Protocol is now in effect. John felt a chill run down his spine. The Earth Protocol, the final contingency plan, the one they had hoped would never be needed. The shuttle shuddered as a tractor beam from the USS Defender locked on, drawing them toward a docking bay. As they approached, John could see that what he had taken for a smooth hull was actually covered in complex patterns that seemed to shift and change as he watched. Metamaterial cloaking, the Arcturan said with awe. We've theorized about such technology but never achieved it. Among other things, John murmured. Once docked inside the massive ship, John led the Confederation representatives into a spacious briefing room. Along the way, they passed human crew members who moved with purpose and discipline. No one seemed surprised by the aliens in their midst. Admiral Carter was waiting for them, along with several other officers. In person, she was even more imposing, with piercing blue eyes that seemed to assess and catalog everything they fell upon. Welcome aboard the USS Defender, she said. I apologize for the circumstances of our meeting. We had hoped this day would never come. Admiral, Nomak said. Commander Miller has told us that humanity has been containing the Mornaxians for centuries. Why were we never informed of this threat? Please, sit. Olivia gestured to the seats around a large table. Once everyone was settled, she continued. 200 years ago, humanity was expanding rapidly into the galaxy. We encountered the Mornaxians in what you now call the Outer Rim. They destroyed 3 of our colony worlds before we understood what we were facing. She touched a control, and a holographic display appeared above the table, showing star systems and movement patterns. The Mornaxians are not a natural species, she explained. They were engineered as weapons by an ancient race we call the predecessors, created to spread terror and destruction, then abandoned when the predecessors either died out or left this galaxy. Engineered? Ambassador Ziri's crystalline form shimmered with concern. For what purpose? We believe they were designed for psychological warfare, answered a man seated beside Olivia. He wore a different uniform with scientific insignia. I'm Dr. Alan West, Chief Xenobiologist for the Earth Defense Force. The Mornaxians literally feed on fear and pain. They can absorb emotional energy from their victims, which strengthens them. Like psychic vampires, John added, seeing the confusion on some faces. Precisely. Alan nodded. After our first encounters, we realized conventional warfare would only make them stronger, so we developed a different approach. Olivia continued. We created a containment zone, a region of space we could monitor and control. We used advanced technology to keep them trapped there, while stationed a permanent fleet to push them back whenever they tried to break out. But they've escaped now, Nomak said. Yes. Olivia's face darkened. About a year ago, we detected unusual activity in the containment zone. The Mornaxians had somehow developed new technology. Technology they shouldn't have been able to create. They broke through our defenses at multiple points simultaneously. We've been tracking them since, Alan added, trying to understand how they've evolved and searching for weaknesses. And have you found any? Asked the Arcturan representative. Alan and Olivia exchanged glances. We've developed new weapons specifically designed to counter them, Olivia said carefully. But there's something else you need to know. Something critical. The room grew quiet. The Mornaxians don't just destroy, she continued. They infiltrate. They can implant genetic material in other species, creating sleeper agents who don't even know what they are until activated. Shocked murmurs filled the room. Are you saying there could be Mornaxian agents among us? Nomak's 4 eyes blinked, rapidly in distress. It's almost certain, Alan confirmed. Our tests have identified infiltration in multiple species throughout the galaxy. That's the real reason for Earth's isolation protocol. Every human who travels between worlds undergoes extensive genetic screening. We couldn't risk spreading the infiltration. How can we identify these agents? Ambassador Ziri asked. We have technology that can detect the genetic markers, Olivia said. We're preparing to share it with the Confederation. But first, we need to stop the main Mornaxian fleet. She touched another control, and the holographic display changed to show a tactical map. Red markers indicated Mornaxian fleet positions, while blue markers showed Earth forces. Even as we speak, 3 Earth Defense Force battle groups are moving to engage the Mornaxian fleets. The USS Defender will take you to Earth, where you'll be safe while we deal with this threat. Earth? Nomak seemed surprised. No non-human has set foot on Earth in 2 centuries. Extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures, Mr. President. Olivia stood up. The Earth Protocol has 2 phases. First, eliminate the Mornaxian military threat. Second, ensure the security of all sentient species by screening for infiltration. And after that? John asked, speaking for the first time. Since the briefing began, Olivia looked at him, her expression unreadable. After that, things change, Commander. Humanity can no longer remain isolated. Not now. As if to emphasize her words, the ship shuddered slightly. An officer entered the room and whispered something to Olivia, who nodded. We've engaged the jump drive, she announced. We'll reach Earth in approximately 6 hours. In the meantime, I suggest you all rest. Dr. West will show you to your quarters. As the representatives filed out, John remained behind. Once they were alone, he turned to Olivia. The Earth Protocol goes beyond what you told them, doesn't it? Olivia's professional mask slipped slightly, revealing weariness and concern. Yes, John. After this, nothing in the galaxy will ever be the same again. 3 days after the historic agreement between Earth and the Galactic Confederation, John Miller stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching as the combined fleet prepared for the largest military operation in galactic history. Operation Sunbreak, they called it. Rear Admiral Steve Powell stood beside him, studying the holographic display of their battle plan. Steve was younger than John had expected, perhaps in his early 40s, with close-cropped blonde hair and intense green eyes. You've been away from Earth a long time, Commander, Steve said. Things have changed. I can see that, John replied, looking around the advanced bridge. When I left, we didn't have ships like this. Steve smiled slightly. The Liberty was built 10 years ago. She's actually considered outdated by our current standards. John shook his head in wonder. While he had been serving as military advisor to the Confederation, living among aliens and thinking himself the face of humanity to the stars, his own people had been evolving in isolation, developing technologies beyond what even the most advanced Confederation worlds possessed. The bridge door slid open and Admiral Olivia Carter entered, followed by several Confederation military officers. Among them was General Krell of the Mantodian forces, his insectoid form towering over the humans. Final briefing in 5 minutes, Olivia announced. Everyone to the war room. The war room was a large chamber dominated by a 3-dimensional tactical display. Representatives from every Confederation species were present, each commanding ships or troops in the coming battle. The atmosphere was tense but unified. Operation Sunbreak will commence in 6 hours, Olivia began. We have one chance to hit the Mornaxians before they realize we've united against them. She touched a control, and the display zoomed in on a star system near the edge of Confederation space. Intelligence suggests the Mornaxians have established their main base in the Vermilion system. We believe this is where they're coordinating their attacks and developing their new technologies. 3 battle groups will converge on the system, Steve continued, highlighting routes on the display. Earth Fleet under Admiral Carter, Confederation Alpha Fleet under General Krell, and Confederation Beta Fleet under Admiral Zinn. Our objective is not just to defeat the Mornaxian fleet, but to secure their base intact if possible. We need to understand how they broke containment, Olivia added, and we need to identify who or what has been helping them. What about the infiltrators? Asked a Saurian commander, her scaled skin shifting to a concerned blue hue. Karen Lee stepped forward. The chief Mornaxian researcher looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes. We've been working around the clock to improve our detection systems. Each ship in the combined fleet has been equipped with scanners that will alert you to any Mornaxian genetic signatures on board. And the ground forces? General Krell clicked his mandibles nervously. Every soldier has been screened, Karen assured him. But stay alert. The Mornaxians may have developed ways to hide their genetic markers. Questions? Olivia looked around the room. John raised his hand. Admiral, what about civilian populations? If the Mornaxians retreat from Vermilion, they could strike at undefended worlds. We've thought of that, Steve replied. Earth has deployed defensive platforms to all major Confederation worlds. They're equipped with the same quantum disruptor technology we're using in this battle. Now, Olivia said, let's talk about the battle plan in detail. For the next hour, they discussed formations, contingencies, and communication protocols. Throughout the briefing, John couldn't help but notice how effortlessly the humans had taken command. Even General Krell, known for his fierce independence, deferred to Olivia's expertise. When the meeting ended, the officers dispersed to their ships. John found himself walking alongside Steve back to the Liberty's shuttle bay. Commander Miller, Steve said after a moment, you've spent more time with the Confederation species than any other human. Do you think this alliance will hold after the war? John considered the question carefully. I think it depends on how Earth handles its new position. If we appear as conquerors, there will be resistance. If we come as partners, even as leading partners, the alliance has a chance. Steve nodded thoughtfully. Between you and me, there are those back on Earth who see this as an opportunity to ensure human dominance in the galaxy. They believe we've earned it after standing guard for so long. And what do you believe, Admiral? Steve's expression was troubled. I believe power corrupts, even with the best intentions. Before John could respond, an alarm sounded throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridor. All hands to battle stations, came the announcement. This is not a drill. Mornaxian vessels detected entering the system. Steve's face hardened. They know we're here. Someone warned them. They rushed to the bridge where chaos had erupted. The tactical display showed dozens of Mornaxian ships emerging from jump points throughout the system. How did they know our position? Olivia demanded as she entered the bridge. Unknown, Admiral, replied the communications officer. But they came prepared. I count 37 vessels, including 5 dreadnoughts. Olivia's eyes narrowed. Deploy the quantum disruptors. All ships. Battle formation Delta. The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency, and John felt the Liberty shudder as it accelerated into position. On the tactical display, he watched as the other Earth ships formed a protective screen around the Confederation vessels, which were still moving into formation. Mornaxian vessels locking weapons, reported the tactical officer. Return fire, Steve ordered. Target their lead vessels with disruptors first. The space around them lit up with energy beams and weapons fire. The Liberty shook as enemy shots impacted its shields. Shields at 80%, someone called out. The quantum disruptors are having an effect, reported the science officer. 3 enemy vessels showing signs of communication disruption. John watched the battle unfold, feeling both awe and terror. The Mornaxian ships fought with brutal efficiency, focusing their fire on any vessel that showed weakness. But the Earth, Ships were responding with equal skill, using the disruptors to isolate enemy vessels, then concentrating fire to destroy them. "Admiral," the communications officer suddenly called. "We're detecting an unauthorized transmission from within our fleet. Someone is sending data to the Mornaxians." "Trace it," Olivia snapped. "Signal is coming from the USS Guardian," the officer replied, sounding confused. "Engineering section," Olivia paled. "Get me a security team to Guardian Engineering now." "Too late," the tactical officer shouted. "The Guardian is powering weapons. They're targeting the Liberty." "Evasive maneuvers," Steve ordered. The Liberty lurched sideways as a massive energy beam from the Guardian sliced through space where they had been moments before. "Guardian has been compromised," Olivia said, her voice tight. "All ships, isolate, and disable the Guardian. Non-lethal measures only if possible." "Admiral," John said quietly, moving to her side. "If the Mornaxians have taken control of the Guardian—" "I know," she replied grimly. "But there are 500 crew members on that ship. We have to try to save them." The battle had now split into two fronts, against the Mornaxian fleet, and against their own compromised vessel. The Guardian, Earth's newest and most powerful dreadnought, fired again, this time striking a Confederation cruiser, which exploded in a ball of flame. "No choice," Olivia whispered. Then louder. "All ships target Guardian's propulsion and weapon systems. Disable that ship at all costs." As the combined fleet turned their weapons on one of their own, John realized that the war had just become infinitely more complicated. The enemy wasn't just out there, it was among them, perhaps even within them, and the real battle was just beginning. John Miller had seen pictures of Earth in history books, but nothing prepared him for the real thing. As the USS Defender emerged from jump space, the view on the main screen left the Confederation representative speechless. Earth was surrounded by massive structures. Orbital platforms formed concentric rings around the planet. Some were clearly defensive installations, bristling with weapon systems. Others were shipyards where vessels of various sizes were under construction. The moon had been transformed into what looked like an enormous monitoring station, its surface covered with domes and antenna arrays. "This is unexpected," President Nomak said finally. "We've been preparing for war for 2 centuries, Admiral Carter replied. "While the rest of the galaxy enjoyed peace, we stood guard." A voice came over the ship's communication system. "USS Defender, this is Earth Defense Control. You are cleared for approach." "Welcome home, Admiral." As the ship moved toward Earth, they passed close to one of the orbital shipyards. Inside its skeletal framework, they could see a vessel under construction that dwarfed even the Defender. "The USS Guardian," Olivia explained, following their gaze. "Our newest dreadnought. It would have been completed next year, but we're accelerating the schedule now." "How many ships do you have?" asked the Arcturan military representative. "Enough, we hope," Olivia answered. "You'll be briefed fully once we reach the surface." The Defender docked with a space elevator, a massive carbon nanotube structure stretching from an orbital platform down to Earth's surface. The descent took 20 minutes, during which they watched the curvature of the planet grow until it filled the entire viewport. They emerged into a vast underground complex beneath what John remembered as the North American continent. Security was tight, with armed guards and scanning systems at every checkpoint. John noticed that even he was thoroughly scanned each time, despite being human. "We take no chances," Olivia explained as they passed through another security gate. "The Mornaxian infiltration techniques are sophisticated." Finally, they reached a large conference room where several humans in both military and civilian attire waited. At the head of the table sat an older man with a weathered face and salt and pepper hair. "Welcome to Earth," he said, standing. "I'm Secretary of Defense Ben Morgan. On behalf of the Earth government, I apologize for maintaining our isolation. For so long, it was necessary." After introductions, they all took seats around the table. One wall of the room was a giant screen showing a real-time tactical display of the galaxy. Red markers indicated Mornaxian fleet positions, while blue showed Earth forces. Yellow dots represented Confederation worlds and installations. "As we speak," Ben began, Our fleets are engaging Mornaxian forces in 3 sectors. Initial reports are promising, but this is just the beginning. How did they break containment? John asked. After 2 centuries of successfully holding them back, what changed? A woman in a lab coat stepped forward. I'm Dr. Karen Lee, head of Mornaxian research. We believe they've been helped. Helped? By whom? Ambassador Ziri asked. That's what we need to find out, Karen said. The new technology they're using isn't something they could have developed on their own. It bears similarities to technology used by several advanced civilizations, including some in the Confederation. The implication hung in the air. You think someone in the Confederation helped these monsters? Nomak's voice was tight with anger. Not willingly, Ben clarified. Remember, the Mornaxians can create sleeper agents. It's possible they activated dormant agents in positions where they could access advanced technology, which is why we need to implement galaxy-wide screening, Olivia added, as soon as possible. Ben nodded to an aide, who distributed small devices to each of the Confederation representatives. These are portable genetic scanners, Ben explained. They can detect Mornaxian DNA sequences, even those dormant in a host body. We're prepared to provide these to every member world of the Confederation, along with medical teams trained in their use. President Nomak examined the device. And if these scanners identify someone as infected? We have developed a treatment, Karen said. It can remove the Mornaxian genetic material without harming the host. The process is not pleasant, but it is effective. The screen on the wall changed to show a new image, a massive battle in space. Earth ships, recognizable by their sleek dark hulls, exchanged fire with the curved red vessels of the Mornaxians. That's happening right now in the Proxima system, Ben said. Rear Admiral Steve Powell commands that battle group. He's testing our new quantum disruptors. They watched as beams of blue energy shot from the Earth vessels, engulfing the Mornaxian ships. Some of the enemy ships seemed to lose power, drifting helplessly. The disruptors interfere with their quantum communication network, explained Karen. They operate as a hive mind. Cut off from the network, they become disorganized, vulnerable. Our attack plan is simple, Olivia continued. Disrupt their communications, isolate their ships, and destroy them one by one. But we need to hit them everywhere at once or they'll adapt. Which is why we need the Confederation's help, Ben added. We have the technology, but not enough ships to cover all Mornaxian-controlled space. We need your fleets. Our fleets have engaged the Mornaxians 3 times, the Arcturan military representative said bitterly. Each time we were decimated. Because you didn't have these. Ben nodded to an aide who opened a metal case. Inside were devices similar to the genetic scanners but larger. Portable quantum disruptors that can be fitted to your ships. With these you can fight back effectively. John watched the faces of the Confederation representatives. He saw skepticism, hope, fear, and calculation. And what do you want in return? Asked Ambassador Ziri, ever direct. Ben and Olivia exchanged glances. Security cooperation, Ben said, finally. After this war, we want integrated defense systems throughout the galaxy, with Earth taking a leading role. We want genetic screening at all major spaceports, and we want a seat on the Confederation Council. All reasonable requests, Nomak said carefully, given the circumstances. But I sense there's more. There is, Olivia admitted. We want oversight of all advanced technology development in Confederation space, particularly anything that could potentially be weaponized. We've seen what happens when the wrong technology falls into the wrong hands. This caused a stir among the representatives. That would give Earth unprecedented influence over the development of other civilizations. The Tellurian ambassador protested. It would, Ben acknowledged without apology. But consider the alternative. Without our help, the Mornaxians will destroy every living thing in this galaxy. The room fell silent as they contemplated his words. On the screen, they could see Earth, forces gaining the upper hand in the battle at Proxima. Several Mornaxian vessels were now drifting dead in space, while others were in full retreat. We need to make a decision soon, Olivia said. Every minute we delay, more worlds fall. Nomak stood up, his four eyes sweeping the room. I propose we put it to a vote. All in favor of accepting Earth's assistance, along with their conditions? 1. By one, the representatives raised their hands or appendages. Some did so immediately, others with reluctance. In the end, only the Tellurian ambassador abstained. Then it's decided, Nomak declared. The Galactic Confederation formally requests Earth's assistance against the Mornaxian threat and accepts the conditions set forth. Ben nodded solemnly. Then as of this moment we are at war, and when it's over, the galaxy will never be the same again. John looked at the tactical display, where more blue markers were appearing as Earth's hidden fleets emerged from their centuries of waiting. He thought about the changes coming to the galaxy, some good, some perhaps not so good, but necessary. The real question, he reflected, was what kind of galaxy would emerge from the ashes of this conflict, and who would truly rule it when the fighting stopped. 6 months after the Battle of Vermilion, John Miller stood at the window of the new Galactic Confederation headquarters on Earth. The building was perched on a mountain overlooking the Pacific Ocean, its sweeping architecture blending human and alien design elements. Outside, ships from a dozen different species moved through Earth's atmosphere in orderly lanes. "Quite a view, isn't it?" said a voice behind him. John turned to see Admiral Olivia Carter, now wearing the formal uniform of the Combined Fleet Command. The months of war had left their mark on her face, new lines of strain around her eyes and mouth. "I never thought I'd see aliens freely visiting Earth," John replied. "Things really have changed." "More than any of us expected," Olivia agreed. "The Council is waiting, it's time." Together they walked through the wide corridors of the headquarters to the Council chamber. Inside, representatives from all Confederation species sat in a circular arrangement, with President Nomak presiding. The mood was solemn but hopeful. "Admiral Carter, Commander Miller," Nomak greeted them. "Please take your seats. We're ready to begin the final briefing." Olivia nodded to John, who moved to the central platform. As the officer who had served both Earth and the Confederation, he had been chosen to deliver the report. "Distinguished representatives," John began. "Today marks 6 months since Operation Sunbreak began. I'm pleased to report that as of 0600 hours this morning, the last known Mornaxian stronghold in the Deneb sector has been neutralized. For the first time in recorded history, the Mornaxian threat has been contained." A murmur of relief went through the chamber. "Thanks to the quantum disruptor technology and the combined efforts of Earth and Confederation forces, we have achieved what was once thought impossible," John continued. "Over 300 Mornaxian vessels have been destroyed or captured. Their main base in the Vermilion system has been secured, along with vast amounts of data on their origins and technology." He touched a control, and a holographic display appeared, showing a galactic map with blue markers indicating secured systems. "The genetic screening program has identified and treated over 12,000 individuals carrying dormant Mornaxian DNA sequences across the galaxy. Dr. Karen Lee and her team have confirmed that the treatment has a success rate of 99%. Ambassador Ziri's crystalline form caught the light as she raised a hand. "And what of the USS Guardian and its crew? Have we learned how the Mornaxians managed to take control of such an advanced vessel?" John exchanged glances with Olivia, who gave a slight nod. "The Guardian incident was a turning point in the war," John said carefully. "We discovered that the Mornaxians had implanted more sophisticated control mechanisms in certain key individuals. The ship's chief engineer had no idea he was carrying Mornaxian DNA. When activated, he was able to override the ship's security systems." "Could this happen again?" asked General Krell, his mandibles clicking anxiously. "No," Olivia spoke up. "The new scanning protocols can detect even these sophisticated implants. Every member of the combined fleet, regardless of species, now undergoes weekly screening." Secretary of Defense Ben Morgan, who had been sitting quietly at the side of the chamber, stood up. "The Guardian incident taught us an important lesson. No one is immune to this threat, not even humans. This is why the screening program must continue indefinitely." There were nods around the room. The Battle of Vermilion had changed many minds about the necessity of the security measures Earth had proposed. "Now," said President Nomak, "let us turn to the future. The war is effectively over, but many questions remain about how we move forward from here." Ben Morgan stepped to the center of the chamber. "Earth proposes the establishment of a new Galactic Security Council, with representatives from all member species, but with Earth taking a leading role in defense and technology oversight. This is not unexpected," Ambassador Ziri noted. "But some worlds are concerned about the level of influence Earth now wields. Your ships patrol our space. Your technology controls our defense systems. Some see this as less of an alliance and more of," she hesitated, "an empire." The word hung in the air. John watched the faces of the Earth representatives, seeing a mix of discomfort and, in some cases, agreement. Olivia stood. "I understand those concerns, Ambassador. Earth did not seek this role. For 2 centuries we isolated ourselves to protect the galaxy. Now circumstances have forced us into the open. And we have proven ourselves, have we not?" Ben added. "Without Earth, the Mornaxians would have destroyed every living thing in the galaxy. No one disputes that," Nomak said carefully. "The question is not what has been done, but what comes next." A tall human woman whom John recognized as Dr. Amy Daniels, the newly appointed head of the Science Directorate, spoke up. "The knowledge we recovered from the Vermilion base suggests the Mornaxians were not the only weapon created by the predecessors. There may be other threats out there, waiting to be awakened." This sobering statement silenced the chamber. "Which is why," Ben continued, "Earth proposes a permanent combined fleet with bases throughout Confederation space, a shield against whatever else may be lurking in the darkness." "And the price for this protection?" Ambassador Krell asked bluntly. "Technology oversight," Ben replied without hesitation. "Earth will review and approve all advanced technology development in Confederation space. We cannot risk another situation where dangerous technology falls into the wrong hands." The chamber erupted in discussion, some voices raised in protest, others in support. John caught Olivia's eye across the room. She looked troubled. As the debate continued around them, John moved to her side. "This isn't what you wanted, is it?" he asked quietly. Olivia sighed. "I wanted the galaxy safe, John. But there's a fine line between protection and control. I fear some on Earth have grown too comfortable crossing that line. History suggests power tends to corrupt," John murmured, remembering his conversation with Steve Powell before the battle. "Yes," Olivia agreed. "And absolute power corrupts absolutely. We must be careful not to become what we fought against." Their conversation was interrupted as President Nomak called for order. "We will put the Earth proposal to a vote," he announced. "But first, let us remember what we have achieved together. A threat that has haunted the galaxy for centuries has been defeated. Species that never knew each other now work side by side. Whatever comes next, the galaxy is forever changed." As the representatives prepared to vote, John looked out the window at the ships flying peacefully above Earth. He thought about how quickly humanity had moved from isolation to the center of galactic affairs, and wondered if they were ready for such responsibility. The Mornaxians were defeated, but peace often presented challenges of its own. Only time would tell if the galaxy had traded one form of terror for another, or if a new age of cooperation and understanding was truly possible. The vote began, and with it the future of the galaxy was decided.